Hey, what's up? A friend let me borrow his module, so I thought I'd make a quick overview of it. This is X1L3 Shard. Shard is a super wild analog noise generator inspired by the noise and power electronics scene. It features some interesting pieces of circuitry that together create perfect environments for creating all flavors of noise and harsh sounds. It's got a touch plate that you can use to mess with the internal circuitry, and it's got an input that you can use to process incoming sounds. I've done some research on how this module works internally, so I'll be explaining the controls and what they mean in this video, but you should really keep in mind that Shard is meant to be played by ear. The manual is vague on purpose, and I don't think you should try to memorize the things I'm going to talk about in order to make proper use of the module. This is one of those instruments that you just play by ear. So let's check out the front panel. On the right you have your controls for the three internal oscillators. So each one has independent pitch and level control, although you shouldn't expect the pitch to properly track 1 volt per octave. And the level control is not really a VCA, but more like a way of deciding which oscillator will dominate the others. So most of the time, whichever oscillators has the highest level will be the one taking over the sound. And this is all because at some frequencies the oscillators start to ring modulate each other, which is one of the main reasons why the behavior of Shard is so unpredictable. Quick piece of advice, by the way, you probably want to use this module with a low-pass filter. It will help you tame the sound and get even more from it as you increase the resonance. On the left side you find 3 identical switches for each oscillator. They are essentially a frequency range selector for all the oscillators. So fragment is slow frequencies and Shard is for higher frequencies. And in the null position the oscillator just isn't running, but it's still affected by the rest of the circuitry, so you get that kind of white noise. And you can also CV control these switches using gate signals into these patch points right here. And right next to the switches you find a touch plate, and that's wired to the timing capacitors of the oscillators. And that means that you will be interfering with the frequency of all oscillators at the same time when you touch it. And then you have the atrophy control. So this is a power starve to the oscillator chips. Essentially, it recreates the effect of a dying battery if the module was battery powered. So you increase the starvation level by turning the knob clockwise, and you can instantly recharge the capacitor by pressing the charge button, and it will decay as the capacitor discharges. The chaos switch essentially makes the transition of the atrophy level smoother. And down here you have a level control for the input signal. I just like to leave it all the way up for maximum distortion. So that's probably a lot to take in, but what is Shard actually good for? So here's some things I've found. You can of course create huge oceans of screaming demons by running the module through a filter and some reverb. You get the idea. Or you could try to design some percussions with Shard. You have a lot of control over all the characteristics of the sound, so that can allow you to create evolving snares, along a sequence or with an LFO. That's great sampling material. But by far my favorite use of Shard is when using it to process audio. You can turn a super bland drum track into something much more catchy. I've got a little sequence playing here on Eloquencer. So this is a dry sound, and now when running it through Shard, yeah, it gets pretty crazy. It's just super interesting in general to process sound with Shard because different frequencies will respond differently with the internal circuitry. So you get very different sounds, and a slight turn of a knob can change very drastically the output of the sound. You can process anything you can think of with Shard. It can be drums, it can be voices. Yeah. Well, that's pretty much all I have to show you about this module. To explore it further, you really have to get your hands on it, and it takes a long time to get used to the controls and get a feel for what they do. I've sat in a room with a friend for 3 hours, forgetting even to drink, just because we were so absorbed by this module and trying to figure it out. I don't think there's a crazier noise module in Eurorack at the moment, and if that's what you're into, well, you're gonna absolutely love it. So thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more videos in the future. I hope I'll be able to review another noise generator very soon, but that depends on its release date. It would be the Malaclips by Sonic Potions. I might also make a couple videos about software that's directly related to Eurorack, namely the new Renaissance firmware for the Mutable Instruments braids and the Hemisphere suite for the Ornament and Cry module. Bye bye.